Hello everyone, and welcome back to Speaking Spurs with me, Kieran, talking all things Tottenham. If you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to support the video with a like and post your comments below to keep the conversation going. Today we're going to be talking about the 3-1 victory that we made very hard for work for ourselves over Morecambe in the FA Cup of the third round. We are through to the next round. Sloppy game. A game that we should have absolutely dominated. Our passing, absolutely terrible. The movement up top, not great at all. But that comes down to when we look at the lineup. So let's jump into that. Galini finally gets a chance in goal. Tanganga and Rodon come into the side as centre-backs alongside Ben Davies. Sessegnon, left wing-back. Doherty, right wing-back. Tanguy, Winks and Lo Celso midfield with Dele Alli and Brian Hill playing up top, which didn't work. Neither of them are natural strikers. Their movement showed exactly that. Lots of players in this game really underperformed. We were so sloppy. The goal itself that we conceded, absolutely unforgivable. Some terrible marking there. It's a game where we didn't show enough enough passion. This is a team that are sitting 21st in League One. That's the third tier of football down the bottom end. We are up the top end of the Premier League table, and these guys couldn't get it over the line, and we had to bring some big guns off of the bench to help get us over the line, and that's not good enough. Let's talk about the individual performances, and I'll give you some player ratings. So Galini, I gave a 5. I would have given him a 6. However, he wasn't commanding enough. I know the goal wasn't his fault in the end. It was some sloppy marking from Tanganga. He made a good save, comfortable save, 6 minutes in. Although he couldn't do much about the ball entering the back of the net, he could have done a little bit from the crossing corner itself. He should have come out, commanded it. And this was a feature throughout the game. He wasn't commanding enough at the back. There was an incident where the ball was played over the top. It went over Rodon, bounced, and Lloris, you would have expected to come out and claim that ball. Now, Galini didn't, stayed where he was. Rodon then had to improvise and smashed it straight up in the air, quite high. It then went out for a corner, and Rodon looked really annoyed that he hadn't had a call from his keeper to come out and collect it. So it's little things like that that affected his score that dropped him down to a 5. Other than that, he didn't have much to do in the game. Tanganga comes away with a 4 in this game. This is the second game in a row where he's made a mistake. Now, we've seen he has some real quality in him. He's obviously had his share of injuries over the last couple of seasons, but I think his lack of playing time is really affecting his decision making. I feel like he's not mature enough yet, and I think a loan is probably the best thing for Tanganga at this stage. I wouldn't want to see him go out the door completely because we've seen in the past what he can do and what he can offer. So I think a loan right now, if he goes out in January, is probably the best thing for him, where he's going to play regular football week in, week out, whether that's to a lower down Premier League team, or if he goes to another country, somewhere like Italy, and really plies his trade. He might not start every week, but he'll be under the tutelage of some great defenders in the Italian league. But that's what he needs. But, you know, for the goal, absolutely is shocking. It wasn't even like there was clever movement. All that happened, he was with his man, took his eyes off his man for a second to look at the ball, and all his man did was move inside. Tanganga didn't follow him. It's really schoolboy error defending. Cost us the goal. It's another big moment in the game. Cost us a goal in the last one with his poor passing and then not even be able to track his man. After that, he defended better. He was one of the players that actually gave the ball away a lot in the game. His passing was terrible. So a 4 for him. Rodon coming into the side. He comes away with a 6. You could tell early on in the game that his rib problem that he's coming back from restricted some of his movement. However, there are injuries within the squad that meant he had to come in. We need to rotate things. Sanchez certainly can't play every single game whilst Dyer and Rodon and Romero are out. Davies has had his turn to rest in a game. But yeah, restricted his movement a bit, but he dealt with most things that came his way. But it's a League One side, so with all these player ratings here, it's really hard to judge when somebody had a good game, if it was actually a good game. Because if they're up against tougher opposition, would they be coming away with this score? I'm not convinced. So yeah, 6 for him. Davies next to him also comes away with a 6. Defensively, he was okay, as he has been for the majority of this season. He had a headed chance that he put over the bar early on from a Winks corner, I believe. Then we move on to the wing-backs. Sessegnon comes away with a 5. He had a nice moment where he dribbled past 3 players, burst into the box, and then laid it back for Lo Celso, which ended up being a blocked shot. There was a switch. Conte, I think because our crossing has been so bad of late, and the fact that we didn't have a natural striker up top, he felt it was a good idea to switch the wing backs. So Sessegnon went over to the right, Doherty over to the left. And Sessegnon over there, although it wasn't the best move for him, his pace kind of got him out of trouble, and actually allowed him to move down the wing a bit more. But there was no real quality there again. But I suppose the idea, because the crossing had been so poor of late from pretty much all of our wing backs, maybe it was time to try something different where, you know, we haven't got anyone in the box that's going to get on the end of anything aerially. Why not have inverted wingers to cut inside and get a few pop shots off? So it didn't work to start with. Sessegnon then kind of used his pace to get him out of trouble. However, I'm not going to be too hard on Sess, because obviously he's been out injured again, a feature here with him, and had just come back. So we've got to allow him to get his fitness and match sharpness back. So it was a good game for him to come into. Doherty on the other side comes away with 4. Now he had a couple of chances actually. The header against the post. He put a shot over in the second half. The switch really didn't help him. We've seen every time he's been on the left, he has been poor. So shock horror, goes onto the left and is poor. I'm not going to blame him for this. Every time he goes out on the left, we just have to accept that that's, you know, partly Conte's fault. He's not left-footed. It slows the game down. He's also not the best striker of the ball, so don't expect him to score. Yeah, I understand why Conte did it, but wrong personnel on the pitch to do it with. Moving on to the midfield, Tanguy Ndombele comes away with a 3. Now, he would have actually come away with a higher score of a 5. However, his reaction to being substituted, just unacceptable. Not quite Hossam Ghali substitution. Some of you may remember when he took his shirt off and threw it. But however, yeah, it was just disrespectful. At the same time, it was triple substitution. So Dele Alli and Bryan Hill came off. Dele Alli decides to go off by the goal and walks the long way round. Applauded the fans on the way past, and they applauded him back. They understand that he tried up front, didn't work for him. Bryan Hill, when he finally realised he was being subbed, ran across the pitch. And by the time Tanguy was crossing the line to get off the pitch, Bryan Hill had gone past him. Now, what Tanguy did, from the far side of the pitch, instead of stepping off and walking round, he slowly drudged all the way across the pitch. It got on the fans' nerves eventually, and he was booed by his own fans. And then when he was booed, did it hurry him? It didn't. If anything, he proceeded to go slower and then went straight down the tunnel. He did reappear later on the bench and sat next to Sessegnon, but, you know, bold move. Is it going to serve him well? No. He does want out of the club, so this could be another signal of intent from him. But in the game, this is a game that he should have bossed. Against a League One opposition down the bottom end of the table, he should have bossed this game with the qualities he's got. He didn't. You know, he should have walked this game, controlled it, set the world alight. It was just poor. It was a tired performance, sluggish, lazy. At times, he tried things, tried to be clever. There were a few moments where he did things I was like, oh, that's good. And it didn't come off, not because he was poor, but because his teammates didn't read it on the day. Now, Tanguy's a bit of a luxury player. He would do great in futsal. You know, I think he'd be epic there, or with a team that is playing right at the top of its game where everyone understands each other. There's not enough of that in the Spurs squad at the moment. And he just doesn't work hard enough off the ball. Amazing on the ball, poor off the ball. But yeah, at times people don't mentally think as quick as Tanguy does. He sees things that others don't. But he should be experienced enough to know that they're not going to read everything he does. So you need to put more on it. You need to communicate better. Didn't happen, just a poor display. So yeah, comes away with a 3. Lo Celso, he comes away with a 6. Now, there were a lot of people after the game talking about how poor Lo Celso is. I mean, Winksy outshone him in the passing department in terms of the amount of passes that he made. Lo Celso had a couple of creative moments. He improved in the second half. However, we do need to remember, again, coming back from injury, he needs to work on his fitness, his sharpness. He had a nice swerving shot. He also set up Kane for Kane's goal. But this guy needs game time. But despite the fact that in his like 50-something passes, you know, we may not be overly impressed by his all-round play. He did actually have 6 key passes, which is more than anyone else on the pitch. And he made 4 tackles. Now, 4 doesn't seem like a lot, but that was actually the most tackles of any Spurs player on the pitch. I think Rodon was the next with 2 tackles. So, although it may seem like a relatively poor display, and yes, it was against League One opposition, he was actually one of the most creative players on the pitch still, without being amazing. Winksy, the next one. He comes away with a 7. Now, Winksy was one of the only ones to really play well in this game. I think Rodon did okay. He was probably, him and Davies were the next best starters. Winks was definitely the best of all the players that started the game. He scored the free kick, and yes, he meant it this time. Obviously, he had the goal under Mourinho in the Europa League, I think, where he hit it from distance. He admitted that that was a cross gone wrong. However, he has come out and said this was intent to score a cross as backup. So it's Sonny uses this as a technique. Anything from out wide in that sort of area where you would whip in a cross, instead of whipping in a cross, Winksy said that you aim to score in the far top corner. Now, if you hit it right, you get a goal. The keeper saves it and you get a corner. You underhit it, it then ends up giving the strikers and players in the box an opportunity to get their head on the ball. So it's a shot come cross, shot first, cross second. So he admitted this one, and we know from last time he's an honest guy. If he didn't mean it, he would have said so. So yeah, he scored the goal that got us back in the game. You know, I think like he got a lot of passes under his belt. He never gave up as the game went on, and did himself some sort of credit. He had a bit of pride in this game when others didn't try things. Winks was constantly wanting the ball, trying to make things happen, and that was evident after we made the substitutions. So you may be thinking, oh, Winksy's not playing too well, the passing's poor. What it actually was, because Dele Alli and Bryan Hill are not natural strikers, they don't have the movement of a striker, or even the movement of an experienced central midfielder or winger. So what ended up happening, Winksy was trying to make these passes, but to no avail because there was no movement in front of him. Once the substitutions were made, Winks all of a sudden looked like he'd gone up a level, but he hadn't. He just had the movement in front of him to then pick the passes. So yeah, he comes away with a 7. Dele Alli comes away with a 5. Look, he battled up top. He tried, but he's just not a striker. And unfortunately for him, his time at Spurs may be coming to an end just because it doesn't seem like he fits in with the system that Conte is going to play. Now, that's unfortunate for him. We don't really want to see him go, but if he's not going to fit in, we don't want to carry any passengers, especially ones who are going to demand high wages. So maybe it's the time to get him out the door. And then Bryan Hill, he also comes away with a 5. He had some bright moments running with the ball, tried a bit of directness, nothing really came off, but just like Dele Alli, a forward role does not suit him whatsoever. So although they've both come away with 5s, part of it I can't really blame them for, because if they had been in natural positions, then it'd be a lot easier to judge them. But substitutions, Lucas Moura came on. I'm going to give him an 8, although he wasn't on forever and a day, as long as everyone else, to put himself up to 8. The impact that he made on the game was really important. He really changed it. He was direct. He obviously got a well-deserved goal. Great pressure to force the Morecambe defender into a mistake. Put pressure on him, dispossessed him, ran all the way towards keeper. He's got Kane across, and all I'm thinking is, pass it, pass it, pass it. He doesn't. The pass was the obvious thing to do, which meant the keeper had rushed out, didn't know what to do, didn't know whether to go to him, go to Kane, so he ended up doing pretty much nothing. Looks as if he's going to pass, then takes it around the keeper and slots it home with his left foot. So great individual goal from him, thoroughly deserved. Really, really made a difference. Harry Kane comes away with a 7. He took his goal well. He added a better dimension to the game because he's a natural striker. And as I said, it gave Winks something to aim at. Also helped brighten Lo Celso up in the second half with players moving correctly in front of them. But, you know, natural striker. It's against League One opposition. Not going to comment too much. Oliver Skipp, he comes away with a 6. He added energy and drive to the game, and I actually think that helped Winks as well, because he had someone, you know, doing all the hard running around the groundwork in the game, which gave Winks more time on the ball. Royale and Scarlett weren't really on long enough to get proper marks, but Royale played his part in the Harry Kane goal, didn't give up on the ball. Morecambe defender ends up going off the pitch, ball stays on, Royale plays it into Lo Celso, who plays it to Kane, who gets the goal. And then, yeah, Dane Scarlett was just on for the final moments, so couldn't really do anything there. But let's talk about, Conte and the players. So Winks had his interview at the end of the game. We've spoken about his goal. Harry Winks has said that they got a bollocking at half time. There were some home truths uttered between the players from Conte to them, and by the sounds of it, Conte absolutely lost his rag at half time. However, after the game, nothing was said. I'm sure what's going to happen from there, they'll review the footage, obviously, sit down, have a team meeting. I think there'll be more home truths said. I think this game would have helped Conte decide some players that are possibly going to have to go out the door, surplus to requirements, not going to put the work in that he needs. So I think that's the way that's going to go. Some of the players did fairly well considering they were playing with people that weren't really working hard. Some of them obviously out of position, which didn't help. So again, it was one of those performances where it was really disappointing from a passion and work rate point of view. However, there are elements that probably influenced the way we were playing. Again, a slight change in formation, players playing out of position, players coming back from injury. So I don't want to sit here and make loads of excuses as to why we didn't play well, because I completely think the players should have put way more into the performance than they did. However, I understand there are elements that they need to get used to. And on top of that, Morecambe defensively actually played fairly well. They got in front of shots quite often, lots of blocks, read the strikes well. And considering they're League One, most of their players cost very little or nothing. I think they handled themselves quite well. They did themselves proud. I'm sure their fans enjoyed the occasion. They had the lead for a decent chunk of time, and it looked like they could have gone on to win it. But, our elite players on the bench come on and really turn the game around for us. So we got away with it. On to the next round. This is a cup that we should be looking to win. Obviously, we've got another game against Chelsea. We've got a North London derby, another game against Chelsea. So we've got some hard games coming up. And this performance wasn't really one that we needed. However, those guys that came off the bench to help turn the game around, it would have done them a world of good. They've come on with a short amount of time left. They've really turned the game around, pushed us on. So, look, we'll see what happens. It wasn't great. That's what it is. Let me know below in the comments what you thought of the performance, and certainly what do you think for the future of Tanguy Ndombele and some of the others, such as Dele Alli. Do we think Brian Hill maybe needs a loan spell? Does Roden need a loan spell? Will Tanganga go out? Do you want to keep Galini? I mean, he didn't have enough come at him in the game to show his talents as a goalkeeper. So it's an interesting one. And that's it for today. Thanks for sticking around. There will be some transfer stories coming up from today's news. I might do another video today to post, so keep your eye out for that one, and a bit about outgoing players as well. So thanks for sticking around. Don't forget to subscribe, like and comment, and until next time, come on you Spurs.